We curse at our sports teams because the Phoenix Suns actually be cursed?
Get that stuff out of here! It's Southwest Bias!
It's Southwest Bias live from the to-be-named-later studio. Glad to have you with us. And yeah, we curse all the time when it comes to our sports teams in Arizona. But could the Phoenix Suns actually be cursed? Thought a lot about this because I've watched a lot of bad Suns basketball over the last 3 decades. And I kind of had been on the fence. It was always a fun joke to make that the Phoenix Suns were cursed, that, oh, you know, there's a reason for all the things that have gone wrong with them beyond what actually happened within a front office or on the court. But then I looked at this year's NBA Finals, and I thought back, and I thought, you know what? The biggest proof that the Phoenix Suns are cursed is the fact that they created both of these final teams in the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers. And you're probably wondering how. Well, let me walk you through this because this is a long laundry list that goes all the way back to 2007 when the disgraced former owner decided that it was time to cut salary, and he had Steve Kerr, yeah, that's Steve Kerr, trade Kurt Thomas to the then Seattle Supersonics with a young general manager named Sam Presti. And he sent Kurt Thomas along with 2 second-round picks to get 2 first-round picks to get, I believe, a second-round pick back. That may not seem like much, but it started an entire domino effect. That one of those picks, Sam Presti, turned into Serge Ibaka, who Presti later dealt for Victor Oladipo and the 11th pick in the 2016 draft, which became Domantas Sabonis. So then the Suns could have traded with the traded on draft night to get Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the draft pick that became him, but the disgraced former owner nixed that. So then the Oklahoma City Thunder decided to trade Oladipo and Sabonis, which they got because of the Kurt Thomas deal, for Paul George. And then a few years later, they flipped Paul George for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and a pick that became Jalen Williams. Then the Suns, in all their infinite wisdom, decided to draft Sticks, Jalen Smith, over Tyrese Halliburton, despite needing a point guard. The Suns reportedly reject a trade involving Domantas Sabonis for DeAndre Ayton with Indiana, and then Indiana promptly trades Sabonis for Halliburton. So now the Pacers get the guy that has put them in the finals. But that's not it. The Suns supposedly rejected a trade involving Miles Turner and DeAndre Ayton. So the Pacers then decided to sign DeAndre Ayton to a max deal, but he was a restricted free agent, and the Suns matched it. If any of those moves go differently on that list, I doubt the Pacers or Oklahoma City wind up in these finals. But instead, because of these little things that the Phoenix Suns decided to do, not only did they shoot themselves in the foot, but they planted the seeds that led to Oklahoma City winning the West and the Pacers winning the Eastern Conference. Little decisions have giant impacts in the NBA. But stuff like this, when you add in the Robert Horry hip check and the Donaghy stuff and the stuff that happened in 92, the 92-93 season, Danny Manning's injury a few years later when they were the best team in the West. All these little things individually don't seem like much. But when you put them together in aggregate, it really starts to feel like the basketball gods or David Stern have been against the Suns for years. And I know it sounds crazy, and most people don't want to believe in curses. But to me, at some point, even going back to the 69 coin toss and letting fans choose whether it was heads or tails and losing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and starting a 4 or 5 decade long search for an actual center, not to mention a title. These little things, when put together, feel like something more than just coincidence or fate or any of the other things that you can explain it. It always has felt like something more has held the Suns down. Is it a curse? I don't know. Has it been bad management from time to time? Definitely. But something more feels like it's going on with the Suns. But at bare minimum, I know that their poor decisions made Oklahoma City in some ways and made the Indiana Pacers in some ways. At least led to their superstars being on their roster rather than on the Suns roster. And will that fortune change? I don't know. But the little things that Brian Gregory and Matt Ishbia and now Jordan Ott do will have a big difference in the future of the Phoenix Suns. And if they're cursed, it'll probably be a negative one. But maybe that's just my Southwest bias. We welcome in the mustache behind the Mac, Shane Diefenbach, on a casual Friday. That's why I'm sitting in this chair and not behind the desk. We thought, you know what, why not be a little bit more casual? Because we're doing a mailbag. This isn't serious heavy lifting outside of talking about a curse. So we're having a little bit of a casual Friday. Shane, how are you?
I'm great.
Are you cursed?
A little bit.
Aren't we all?
I played with some stones when I was a kid that I found in this like pyramid structure.
Oh, all right.
Near the ocean, and they glowed a bright purple.
Yeah, I hung out in a pet cemetery, so
You hung out? In one?
Yeah, well, why not? I mean, isn't that the kind of place that kids of the 80s hung out? We had no supervision.
Yeah.
I'm in that Gen X millennial area, kind of couch cushion, and we had no supervision. We did crazy things that would make people blush now. And
Since this is casual,
Yeah.
let's break down some barriers, Espo.
Okay, let's do it.
Do you actually believe in curses? Aside from the whole bit you just did?
Not in real life, like in non-sports things. Like in sports, it feels like it could be real because there's so many things that can go against a team, but I don't necessarily believe an individual could be cursed. Like I think it's
Do you
probably
believe in the
a mental
supernatural?
Yeah, I believe in the supernatural.
But you don't believe in curses?
No, it's weird because do I think the supernatural exists? Yeah, because there's a lot of things I think we can't explain that our mind can't quite grasp. So yeah, there's probably supernatural. Everybody's like, isn't this a sports show? And now he's pontificating on the supernatural. Yeah, it's a casual Friday.
Like the Luka trade. That's supernatural. Can't explain that.
That was stupid. It was rigged is what that was. That do I believe in the NBA being rigged? Yeah, I believe in conspiracy theories probably more than the curses or the supernatural in a lot of ways. But I could see sports teams being cursed one way or another.
I think that Desert Financial Arena is cursed.
I could see that. I mean,
I think there are bones under the stadium, and powerful bones like Egyptian bones. Egyptian.
But
Just Egyptian.
somebody raided
Pharaoh
the pyramids
bones.
and buried them in Tempe.
Pharaoh bones.
Pharaoh bones. All right. Yep. I think it's just been some poor coaching hires and other things, and that place is a dump. But maybe that's why it's cursed.
I think that the Pharaoh to be named later was the reason for the water shutting off and ASU not being able to play Florida Atlantic. No, Florida A&M, was it? FAMU? Yeah.
Yes. Look, man, there's probably something, and I bring this up because there was a question, because today is a voicemail bag Friday, that one of our listeners, viewers, asked about curses, essentially saying, how can we break the one here? I don't know. I've thought about this a long time. Like, if there were some kind of sacrifice or something that could be done, I would be the first in line to figure out how we could do it. But I really don't know that there is, because we can't even pinpoint what the start of a curse is here. Maybe it was the fact that somebody 100 some odd years ago looked at this and went, why don't we build a city in the middle of the desert where it's 110 degrees in July and figure out how to do it?
And there are pharaoh bones underneath.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, the old Arizona pharaohs.
Yeah, that sounds like a bad, like, next UFL team that's coming to Arizona. The Arizona Pharaohs.
Maybe. We've got our hot shots helmet here. Maybe the pharaohs are next.
And then, much like the Romans exchange with the Egyptians, there would probably be a pharaoh to be named later in a trade.
And cash considerations. Yeah. There's always cash considerations. Like, look, if there is a curse, like I said, I could it be the coin toss in '69, because that was really our first foray into professional sports and disappointment? Maybe, but I don't think we're tracking down the coin that they used, as much as I'd like to imagine I could, and we could melt it and I could commit a felony while breaking the curse. But I just don't see any real way of determining, if there was, where it started. But God, I hope it ends sometime soon, because I don't want to be like my grandfather, who was a Red Sox fan in Boston, go my entire life and pass away without seeing a title for my favorite team. I don't think I think that would be torture, quite frankly. So
yeah, that's fair.
But maybe that's my Southwest bias.
Maybe it is.
On the other side, we got your questions. Lots of them. And there's been a rumor that I might have to rank people in the office. All that coming up after the break. You know who's not cursed? Our friends at Mountain America Credit Union. Because everybody needs a checking account, and our friends at Mountain America have you covered. They've got over 1 million members and 100 branches throughout the West. So when it comes to banking, they know what they're doing. There's not a better credit union in the West than our friends at Mountain America. And right now, you're going to get 2 times the points on rewards with their credit card purchases through July 31st. So you got a month and a half, 6 weeks to take advantage of this. So use your Mountain America Rewards card and watch the points pile up. It's perfect for gas, groceries. Who doesn't need both of those? Travel. It's summer. Get the hell out of Dodge and use their travel perks, home projects, and so much more that you can get it with. This promotion is easy to stretch your dollar, since you earn twice as many reward points. So redeem your double points for rewards like travel rebates, gift cards, event tickets. Limited time only. Take advantage of it while you can. You don't want to miss it. Details at macu.com/double. Loans on approved credit can change, or the withdrawal at any time. Limited time offer. Terms and conditions apply. And let me tell you about All Pro Shade Concepts. Look, I've told you on this program about how I've used All Pro Shade Concepts. If you are looking for a way to beat the heat this summer, but don't want to get out of town, you want to enjoy your own backyard, All Pro Shade Concepts can help you do just that. Their awnings, their shades for your windows, everything that they have can make your backyard or home better, and they have quality materials and even better service. So right now, what I want you to do after the program, I want you to stay here, and then you can do this. I want you to call our friends at All Pro Shade Concepts at 623-204-1476 or visit allproshadeconcepts.com and get a free estimate today. Tell them Espo sent you. They'll say who, but then they'll still give you a free estimate. I mentioned it is a casual Friday here on Southwest Bias, thus the change in setting. But it also means we're going to take your questions, the voicemail bag. We got texts, we got DMs, we got Discord messages. No voicemails this time. Apparently, everybody doesn't want their voice heard on this program because they're too intimidated by mine. But Shane, why don't you throw out our first question here, and I'm going to answer all of them that we have today.
Are you excited?
I am. I honestly, I clipped a lot of them, didn't read them. So I'm excited for kind of the surprise of what we've got going on.
That's good. All right, well, we'll start with a softball from Jim Rose Circus 1 on Twitter saying, if your car can go the speed of light, would you still need headlights?
No, I don't believe you would, because I believe everything's a streak if you're going at the speed of light. And I don't think it matters at that point because you have no control over what's going on anyways. If you had your headlights on to see something, you're not going to have time to react. You're just going to smash through that person or that thing or whatever is in your way. So at the speed of light, who the hell cares about headlights? You're just going to be going so fast. You're going to get where you're going in the blink of an eye.
I've always wondered, what if light's going at the speed of light?
Well, light is going at the speed of light.
I know, but like, what if you're accelerating light at the speed of light?
I don't know, Shane. I didn't go to a scientific college. I went to U of A. At least the portion of it that I went to wasn't scientific. I watched freaking movies.
If a car is in motion, isn't light technically traveling faster than the speed of light already?
I don't know, Shane.
If the headlights are on, you know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. I just don't know how to answer it.
Well, can you try?
No, I don't have any edibles right now,
Okay.
so no, I can't
That's
try.
fair.
Shane, we can one night after work, you and I can go out, get a few drinks, maybe partake in an edible, and we can have that discussion when I can think about it more.
I don't think I want to do that.
You don't want to hang out with me? I see how it is. What's next, Shane? See if I show up at your birthday party at the pool at the Diamondbacks.
We got to keep a tight schedule. We're going to move on.
Let's go.
This is from Patrick Lurin. I hope I said that right, from our Discord. How can we identify and remove the curse that was seemingly put on every Arizona sports team?
Well, I discussed that. You can't.
Okay.
We don't know what it is.
I
Yeah,
think
you can't.
I think it's the Pharaoh bones.
I
think we need to get maybe sacrifice a scarab.
maybe move the arena that the Suns are in, but they've been in 2 now. I don't know. There's a lot of things that I have half-baked ideas, but none I'm really willing to pitch. I mean, maybe Kareem himself is the curse.
Well, let me ask you this. There are many ways that people try to get rid of curses.
Mm-hmm.
What would be your first? Are you sacrificing something?
I'm a big fan of the sacrificing something, not something living necessarily, but we saw the Cubs blow up the Bartman ball. We've seen things like that. I find those kind of things entertaining, and that would probably be my first
Not
stop.
talking about entertaining us, but we're talking about what's going to work.
Saging, saging, the exorcism. Maybe I did grow up Catholic. That could be on the table. Maybe we do need to exorcise the demons over at PHX Arena.
Okay.
I'll try anything.
Yeah,
Well,
I think sacrifice is the best call, because if you're you have to be willing to get rid of something. Get something.
I've sacrificed years of my life with these teams with no real reward.
I've sacrificed years of my life with this company.
I mean, but you've gotten plenty of reward. You get to work with me every day.
That's
now.
true.
I look at Arizona sports like insurance. You keep putting in, and when you need it, usually it doesn't cover what you want.
But sometimes it does.
Sometimes.
If you sacrifice something.
This is true.
So let's run this sports car right into a wall and try to claim some insurance fraud.
Some would argue that ownership in this town of most teams have run it into the wall already. What's next in the voicemail bag?
This comes from Albert from our Discord saying, is there anything the Suns' new regime can learn from the Mercury side? Or are the NBA and WNBA ecosystems too different to apply what works to one or the other?
I think it probably is too different to apply, but I do think they took a few notes, because the way the Suns started under Matt Ishbia's tenure was going after the flashy hires in terms of the coaching staff and trusting a quote unquote seasoned front office veteran. But Nick Urine was an up and coming guy that didn't have WNBA experience. He'd been in the NBA in the Golden State Warriors building, and then came over to be the general manager of the Mercury. Brian Gregory, not a lot of NBA experience, came over to be the Suns general manager. And then you look at Nate Tibbetts was a longtime assistant coach, a guy who had earned his stripes, and then came in to be head coach, which I think they followed that pattern with Jordan Ott. So I think maybe they are learning things. Roster construction, the Mercury put together a big three, very much like the Suns did. So I don't think roster construction is necessarily where you're going to do that. I do think the Mercury have a more balanced roster than the Suns did. But I think from that front office and coaching staff, they did learn some lessons from what they did with the Mercury and tried to apply them somewhat with the Suns.
Yeah, it's a hard one because they're two not only different games but different leagues by the way they operate and the culture in them. So it's a hard question, but I definitely think there are things to learn from everything. It doesn't have to apply to what you're actually doing. Like I take inspiration from things that aren't in our field at all, and I think that's important.
Yeah, I mean, I take inspiration from your mustache every day. But
what does it tell you?
To be better,
to be
is
bold.
what it tells me. But the other thing is this iteration of the Mercury hasn't had any success. So you want to base it off the old Mercury. The winning formula is get two number one picks that are all-time greats and have them play together.
Yeah.
Right.
And continuity.
Yeah. Continuity. So I don't think you're going to be able to replicate that if that's what you're talking about.
Because if you want to take this iterations of Mercury's timeline, they're either ahead or behind you because they're in their super team building phase right now. So is this super team 2.0?
To be fair, the Mercury are off to a good start, but they could backslide like last year's Suns team too.
Exactly.
And they could be just a mirror image of what we saw, to your point, Shane.
Exactly. Diehard mainstay Seiko Blue asking, what's your favorite NBA Jam entry? This would include Showtime, Hang Time, the reboot, etc.
It is the original because it is the game I fell in love with. There had never been a video game before that. I didn't get into Mario. I wasn't allowed to have a video game system until around when NBA Jam came out. But it started with my dad letting us rent a Sega. Like, you used to be able to rent them in this giant case, and we'd rent it on the weekend, and I'd get NBA Jam and maybe like NFL 94. And I just fell in love with that. I remember going to the arcade before that in the summer. There was one right around from my house, and I'd spend every quarter I could find on that game. Like, I fell in love in part with the NBA because of that original NBA Jam. You hear Tim Kittrough's voice in the intro of this show. He was the voice of NBA Jam. Like, it obviously has had a massive impact on me, and the original was that. So Psycho Blue, that is my answer. I enjoy the others, but the original is the best.
Yeah, I've only actually played the original and the newer one, the On Fire one that came out in 2012 or whatever.
We've got the whole cabinet over there. You can play all of them.
Oh, wow. I didn't know they had the rest of them on there.
They're all on there.
All right. This ain't Mike asked a question that I'm not sure if we're allowed to answer because of Max, but it's Free Ad Friday, so who cares? Best breakfast burrito in the Valley.
I believe I am required to say Wendy's breakfast burrito is the best. But since Max isn't in earshot and I outrank him here in the company, I'm gonna use my power for a Free Ad Friday. Carolina's is one of my favorite breakfast burritos here in the Valley. That is a free ad. And if they want to send me a free breakfast burrito, I won't complain. But that is my favorite. Yeah, just one, just for me, not for anybody else. I'll just take one.
I had my best breakfast burrito of all time in New Mexico.
Really?
So, yeah, from New Mexico Beef Jerky Company.
Nice. There's a really good one if you're in the Carlsbad, San Diego area, place named Swami's. That's really good too.
Not to be confused with Swampies.
Not yet, which is totally different in what happens when I go to the Midwest with all the humidity. So
when we were in New Orleans, there was a place called the Swamp. It's a pretty famous bar, I think. And there's like an upstairs VIP swamp area. It's pretty great.
What?
Yeah.
How do you put a swamp upstairs? I don't even want to know.
Yeah.
Don't want to know.
Yeah. This one comes from Michael Morris at Michael MXDMARDR on Twitter. Do you really believe this is going to be a quote soft rebuild?
Look, yes, I do. Like, it's going to be such a soft rebuild that even Cialis couldn't help it. All right. This is not going to be a tear it down to the studs. Hope you get draft picks. Try to rebuild like we went through for a decade in this city, and hope you get lottery luck. This isn't hopium. This isn't chasing ping pong balls. They are going to go after guys that can help them now and some draft picks to try to fortify the future, or at least give them trade assets. But when you look at that 26, 27 offseason, whether there's more cap space, I think they're going to go back and chase guys to pair with Devin Booker as well. This is not going to be a full reset, tear it down rebuild. It's just not going to happen.
This next one comes from another mainstay, Chris in Phoenix on Twitter, Chris in the Discord, talking about the duo episode we did.
Mm-hmm.
So they say, I thought about it a bit more, and two other duos we would have included Frank Kush and Danny White, and Jake Plummer and Pat Tillman. Kush is literally responsible for ASU moving from being a teacher's college to more of a university, and he's incredibly important to ASU's history and even the state of Arizona history. The Kush-White combo basically created the Fiesta Bowl at a time when there were only 10 bowl games. Plummer/Tillman's ASU team was literally one play away from beating Ohio State in the Rose Bowl and potentially / a likely national championship. Both of those duos should be, at a minimum, ahead of Hawk and Van Arsdale, Plummer and centers, and Kachuk and Ronick. They both belong in level B. I would put Kush and White ahead of Dilly and Scat, and would put Plummer and Tillman either before or after Plummer and Fitz.
Kush and White, valid point. I think that was an oversight on my part. My apologies. Probably could have gone Plummer, Tillman on the ASU side rather than Plummer centers, but I feel like, and this is no disrespect, but when you're looking at the full state of Arizona, that Cardinals playoff run had a larger impact for the entirety of the state than the ASU Rose Bowl run. Now, if they had won and they had shared that national title, I think that would have been a different conversation. But that's kind of where I stand on that right now.
Carlos Martinez opens it up and says, never wanted KD on the Suns. I feel like they overpaid. But then
correct
says, in a KD trade, I would like to see a 3-team trade that brings back Cam Johnson fixing mistakes from the KD trade.
Look, I love Cam Johnson. Saw him at K1 softball tournament, talked with him, sat down with him. I'd love to have him back in the Valley. I don't think it's happening as part of this KD trade. Maybe when he's a free agent in 2027, there's a way, but I just do not see it as part of this KD deal.
How much money is he making right now?
He's in the 20s, I think.
It's like 4 years, 80 probably.
Yeah, I think he might have been in the 90 or no, he wound up more than McHale, I think, with Brooklyn.
He was making a good amount.
Yeah, he did get a good amount.
That's a little too much for me.
Yeah, and I just don't see that.
I love Cam.
I don't see Brooklyn getting involved in it right now.
Last one. Do you remember that scene in Moneyball when the Yankees agreed to pay half of David Justice's contract for the A's to take him? Can the Suns do something similar for Bradley Beal? Will for Mesa. No,
I actually don't think the NBA rules allow you to do anything like that, which makes it much tougher. I think if you're going to pay money to get rid of Bradley Beal, you're paying it straight to Bradley Beal to have him walk away as part of a buyout. I think that's probably more likely than a trade happening, but I do not believe Bradley Beal will be on this roster at all this year. I do not see that. I think it is done one way or another. He is gone from here. So that is another edition of Southwest Buys. Big thanks to the mustache behind the Mac, Shane Diefenbach. Thank you to all of you for your questions. And remember, even if you feel cursed,
we have to say thank you to the Pharaohs, just in case they're listening and in case they're the reasons behind the curse.
Thank you to
you, Pharaohs.
Thank you to the UFL's newest football franchise, the Arizona Pharaohs, as well. Thank you to you for watching. Remember, you can follow me at Espo. You can follow the show at PHNX_sports. And remember, even if you feel like you're cursed, you might just be having a bad day. Ahoy, hoy!
We all silly like the mayor.